For you, how would you describe motivation?
Great question. It's a complicated question, as you know. There's lots of kinds of motivation. So motivation, in one level, is a set of reasons. We can understand motivation in a cognitive dimension, the reasons why we do things. And the word reason suggests rational cognition, at least, in the realm of thought. We have drives, too. These are physiological. We have a drive to be secure. We have a drive to be safe. We have a drive to avoid fear or fearful events. Those are aversions. And then motivations are emotional, like we have beliefs and values, inspirations, and inspiration is often sort of a thought feeling, right? So for me, motivation is all these dimensions, and sometimes we can even offload motivation. It can be social, right? We're part of a team. I think we never work as hard as when we're part of a team. Individually, it's harder to work out, for instance, down in the gym if you're by yourself than with someone else, or you run faster or harder. So there's all these different dimensions from my point of view of motivation. There are a few organizing principles that might bring some order to that. I'm happy to share those. But for me, motivation is multidimensional, and it has all these different components. And that's both a challenge in trying to sort that out, because sometimes the motivations are in opposing directions, right? They're countervailing. But also, to put an optimistic spin on it, that also means there's lots of opportunities to intervene motivationally, right? If there's all these different things, I can think about which ones work well for me, or, hey, that didn't work, let me try another thing in the cognitive realm, or let me try an affective dimension. So for me, it's a complex kind of. Sometimes I use the metaphor of motivation from a conceptual point of view is like spaghetti. It's all these interwoven things with some sauce on it too. Lots of different threads.
So when we're talking about motivation, because motivation often is a thought in our head, like I really want to take up running right now, or I'm thinking that I really want to go back to school right now. I'm feeling really motivated to do that. It's also a feeling. I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my body. I'm ready. I'm going to go do this. Now I'm ready to do this. I want to be able to change my eating habits. I want to be able to cut back on my drinking, my drug use. And the problem is that motivation as a thought and motivation as a feeling is fleeting. It's like the wind. It can come and it can go. It's wonderful when you feel like you want to change. That's great. The thing to keep in mind is that changes, that's fleeting. And when people who study motivation try to use measures that track motivation as a thought or a feeling, they actually have a really, really hard time of predicting who's going to end up changing their behavior, who's going to quit drug use, who's going to lose weight, who's going to exercise, whatever is the behavior they're trying to look at. It's not a very reliable predictor of change. And Jim Ryan was one of the most famous athletes of the 1960s. Jim Ryan was one of the fastest people on earth. And he set multiple world records. And one of the things that Jim Ryan said was, motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. And the thing is, we've learned a lot about motivation since Jim Ryan spoke those famous words. And what we learned about motivation is much, much deeper than what you think and what you feel. Motivation is about your values. What we're learning in behavior science now is that when you focus on your core values, that's a very fundamental driver of behavior change. It's a very fundamental driver of whether you're going to lose weight, change your eating, change whether you work out at the gym, achieve your goals. And so when you can go deep, you can go long. When you can go deep, you can make long-term behavior changes in your life.
I love it. I think one of the things that I see a lot of in our world is the use of motivation, but without a purpose or an end goal. How do we find direction or something to focus on to then use that motivation? Is that built into the things like inspiration, aspiration, and inner drive, or how do we find it?
Yeah, another great question. I think I might even start slightly below that question, if you will. So I believe, and this is reflected in self-worth theory and some others, theories of motivation, or theories of really the human condition, that human beings are powerfully driven to find and pursue meaning in their lives. So meaning means a lot of things, but significance, purpose. A lot of times meaning is certainly personal. It's about my own growth, my relations to others, but it's often social. So a lot of people's drives and meanings actually often come back to a social impact. They want to make some change in the world, benefit some others, bring some value. And that suggests the value out there is often connected to values in us. So looking inward and then mapping that outwardly into the world and seeing where there's some resonance, what's the connection. There's some other things to consider in terms of finding our mission and purpose. It seems to me it's possible, I think, to work in a realm where you don't feel like you're succeeding and you say, okay, I really want to do that. I'm motivated, I have this value, I want to be a musician. And music brings joy to people, and I want to do that. But I'm not musical. So I could do that, but I would probably be frustrated at some point. So I do think that some capacity and skill. We do know that for a sense of well-being and positive regard and how we feel about ourselves, which is crucial to motivation, we need to feel good. We need to have a sense of achievement. That is human. And no, I don't think anybody should apologize for that. We want to achieve. That's part of being a human being too. So I think some combination, right, where we have meaning and purpose that's connected to our values, some impact on the social world, some sense that we can be effective, achieve in that realm, I think are important. It's some sort of, I think it's a kind of coherence, like that what I do reflects what I care about. And they're not perfect. That's not the world we live in, not perfectly aligned, but there's enough overlap or enough alignment that I can feel good about that. I think, people have been talking about this for eons, but that would be my kind of sense. That's what I see among the students that I work with. Super skilled, very driven. It's when these things come into an alignment that they really shine. And not only do they excel, but they feel better about both themselves and their achievement when there's this alignment between values and actions. And again, this is the wisdom of the ages. As far as I know, the Greeks said it, and the Buddhists are saying it, and lots of others too.
How do we make sure that we're not just relying on something like motivation and we're getting that longevity out of it?
To get the longevity, you first have to know deep down, when you look in the mirror, what do you really, really, really care about? How do you want to be remembered? When you leave this earth, how do you want people to speak of you? What do you want people to remember about you? When you are done with your working life, when you retire, what do you want the people that you worked with most closely to say about you, about the qualities that you had, about the things that you cared about? If you are a parent, what would you want your kids to say about what kind of dad you were or what kind of mom you were when they grow up? That's the kind of questions we have to be asking ourselves to figure out, what do I stand for? What's my mission statement? What is it that makes me want to keep going? What is it how is it I want to contribute to life, to other people, to society? What kind of impact do I want to make at the end of the day? And when you can ask those kinds of questions, you're getting beyond just what you think right now or what you feel right now. Because the truth is, what we value is not going to change. The things that you deeply care about in your heart of hearts, the things that you're truly passionate about, the kind of impact you want to make on others, on life, they're going to be the same today as they are in 5 years. And so they're enduring. There are the fundamentals, they are what define us. And what I'm talking about are the verbs and adverbs of life. I'm talking about being loving, or caring for others, or giving to others, or learning, or challenging my body, or having a deep relationship to a higher order, to spirituality, to God, or whatever we want to, how we want to refer to a higher power. And so those are the fundamentals of who we are. And the beautiful thing about these fundamentals, about what we value, what we deeply care about, what gives our life a sense of meaning and purpose, is that there are multiple goals you can achieve by doing that. And the thing to see is that goals are simply milestones. They're simply mileposts along the journey of our lives. They're destinations we reach as we go through life. Values are our North Star. Values are the general direction we're taking ourselves. And when we're moving in that direction, it's very important to set concrete goals. But what a lot of people leave out is what's driving these goals? What's my fundamental? What's my why? What are the values that guide me toward these goals? Because sometimes people set goals because their parents want them to. They want them to go to medical school. They want them to become a lawyer. They want them to do this. Their friends are doing that, so I should do that too. My friend's making $150,000 in first job coming out of school. I want to do what he's doing. I want to do what she's doing. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, is that what I want? That if everyone could accept you for whatever choice you made, what choice would you make? And once you begin to see the world that way, you realize that's my North Star. And now what's my goal that I want to set? And you set short-term goals, you set long-term goals. That's great behavior change. You want to do that. Do you want to keep your eye on each day? You ask yourself, today, did I move toward what I value, or did I move away from what I value? And if I moved away, what choice could I make tomorrow to move me toward what I value? What can I do with my hands and feet that's going to set me in the direction toward what I value so I can begin to meet my goals?